We're in for Bret Baier tonight. Who's going to call the shots in the Senate for the next Congress? A rundown of the Republicans who are now under consideration for majority leader. Plus, we got this coming up for you, a disaster for FEMA accusations of discrimination against Trump supporters in federal relief efforts. Plus, Bret Baier takes a look at how redistricting affected last week's election outcome. And incoming President Trump's second term's dance card is filling up fast as top officials formally accept his nominations for cabinet spots. The president-elect has chosen his nominees now for border czar, EPA chief, ambassador to the UN. But we're also learning tonight more about who's not going to be part of a second Trump term. Senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni starts us off tonight. She's in West Palm Beach, Florida. Hi, Aisha.
Hi there, Jillian. Good to see you. The Trump transition team has been moving at a fairly decent clip here since election night, a stark contrast to what we saw in 2016.
President-elect Trump tapping former Congressman Lee Zeldin to lead the Environmental Protection Agency.
President Trump, when he called me up, he was rattling off 15, 20 different priorities. We have the ability to pursue energy dominance, to bring back American jobs to the auto industry, and so much more.
Another New Yorker, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, is accepting the nomination to be the next U.S. ambassador to the UN. Trump's former senior advisor and immigration hawk Stephen Miller congratulated by Vice President-elect Vance as Trump's new deputy chief of staff. And former acting ICE director Tom Homan takes the newly created role of border czar, vowing to carry out Trump's mass deportation plan.
Frankly, I don't care what people think about me, especially on the left. We have to secure the border.
Democrats already putting their boxing gloves on.
Stephen Miller and Tom Homan were the architects of a lot of the first Trump administration horrific immigration policies. We're going to have to figure out how we fight that best.
Pictured on the golf course in Palm Beach over the weekend, Trump and his transition team are filling positions faster than 2016. Senator Marco Rubio and former Ambassador Germany Richard Grenell are still potential picks for Secretary of State. And Senator Mark Wayne Mullen is reportedly being floated for Secretary of the Interior or Veterans Affairs Secretary. But he tells Fox the transition team hasn't reached out to him just yet.
And Jillian, we also know tonight folks who will not be a part of the second Trump administration, and that includes junior senator from Missouri, Eric Schmidt. He came out today and said that he is going to be staying in the Senate. And also President-elect Trump has already come out and said that Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo will not be a part of his second administration, though he thanked them both, saying that they're thanking them for their service to the country. Jillian?
Aisha, what do you know about this Washington Post report out there making some headlines that Trump called Russian President Putin and they talked about the war on Ukraine? Are you learning anything?
So, Jillian, we did reach out to Team Trump about this and asked them to confirm or deny. They haven't done either. This is what they've said. They've told us that they do not comment on private phone calls between the president-elect and world leaders. The Kremlin also has put out a statement saying that they're denying it. They're calling this report, quote, pure fiction. Jillian.
All right. Aisha Hasni in West Palm for us tonight. Thank you. And with votes still being counted right now, Republicans, of course, hoping to officially clinch enough seats in the House to preserve their majority and complete a GOP trifecta. This after winning the White House and Senate. Let's begin in the upper chamber where the tussle over who's going to lead the Republican majority is getting very real. Senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram has the latest from the Hill tonight. Hi, Chad.
Jillian, good evening. Everyone is watching to see if President-elect Trump endorses a candidate. Minority Whip John Thune wanted the incoming president to stay out of the race.
We're kind of up to that critical stage, and we're having all those final conversations with our colleagues. I feel really good about where we're at. We just got to keep pressing on.
Some Trump allies, including Elon Musk, support Rick Scott of Florida. Scott ran against Mitch McConnell 2 years ago. He only garnered 10 votes.
The country voted. They want a change. They want the Trump agenda. They want his nominees. They want his policies.
Former Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn is the other candidate for leader. He declined to be interviewed today, but said this on Thursday.
We are going to be hand in glove with the Trump administration.
All three hopefuls support a plan by Mr. Trump on recess appointments. That's when the president bypasses the Senate confirmation process. Senator-elect Dave McCormick of Pennsylvania will vote in the leadership race, but he's not allowed to attend the freshman orientation. Democrat Bob Casey has not conceded yet. Republicans are slamming Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
I know he's disappointed in the election, but he needs to go file a hurt feelings report, and let's move on.
Now, Republicans will personally escort McCormick to the orientation on Wednesday. Republicans vote for Majority Leader by secret ballot. The winner needs 27 votes. Jillian?
A lot of hurt feelings reports probably getting filed over there on the Hill. Chad, what's the update on the balance of power tonight in the House for us?
Well, it is trending toward a Republican House, but Democrats won a seat today. Cleo Fields returns to Congress for the first time in 3 decades. He won in Louisiana. Now here is the House breakdown. 214 GOP seats, 204 Democratic seats, and that leaves 17 races uncalled. Among the races still out, Alaska's seat held by Democrat Mary Peltola. 10 seats in California. Democrats lead in 6. The GOP leads in 4. And the seat in northern Maine held by Democrat Jared Golden. Jillian?
All right, Chad Pergram up on the Hill for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So look at this. At least one Democrat now thinks Kamala Harris should become the nation's first female president, despite losing the election last week. One of her former advisors now says President Biden should resign immediately so Harris can claim the honor for a few weeks. A lot of blame to go around inside the party for losing the White House, of course. Here's senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy.
This is the last time I will stand here at Arlington as Commander-in-Chief.
He means for another 70 days, unless
he could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
That was Jamal Simmons, a former Harris communications director. Simone Sanders, a former Harris press secretary, posted on X, "Do you hear yourselves? The Oval Office is not a damn game." But this far-fetched idea is offered as a way for Democrats to succeed next cycle.
It would make it easier for the next woman who runs for president to not have to worry about all the historical weight of being the first.
For the first time, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is going on the record to blame the Harris loss on Biden for not allowing a mini primary.
Had the president gotten out sooner, there may have been other candidates in the race. Kamala, I think, still would have won, but she may have been stronger, having taken her case to the public sooner.
Some pundits urge the current president to go out on his own terms.
Joe, since they're talking smack about you anyways, you know what? Baby, pardon Hunter.
Yeah.
Pardon Hunter, because America just pardoned a criminal.
As Biden allies are responding to the Harris swap idea.
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
And there are no known preps to hand the Oval Office off to anyone but Donald Trump.
Mr. President, is Trump still a threat to democracy?
And when he does, the outgoing president is planning to tell the incoming president not to abandon Ukraine, according to his national security advisor, Jake Sullivan. So that means we know there will be policy. We don't know if there will be pleasantries. Jillian.
All right, Peter Doocy at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for us tonight. Thank you.
What I'd like to do, Larry, is make America great again by making the Senate work again.
I represent exactly what the Trump team wants and what Trump wants and what the American public wants.
A lot of that's going to be shaped now by President Trump and his big victory, landslide victory, which I think gives us a mandate to work with him and his team on an agenda that gets America back on track.
All right, let's talk about the Senate leadership fight going on and other political headlines tonight with Fox News chief political analyst Britt Hume. He joins us here in the studio. Britt, we got John Thune, John Cornyn, Rick Scott, all, signing up, agreeing to Trump's demand that this appointments include recess time appointments. They're all making their pitches in the media this week. But interestingly, Trump World has been making an extra special push for Senator Scott. I'm curious if you think that's going to help him with his Senate colleagues who actually have to vote him into the position, or whether there's a chance it backfires.
You got Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and others who are supporting Senator Scott. I actually think Senator Scott's kind of a long shot. The reason being that For example, he was the head of the National Republican Senatorial Committee in the 21-22 election cycle, raised a ton of money.
No one can remember back that far, but yes.
Well, as you may recall, the Republicans had a very disappointing result in those midterm elections. Remember the big red wave was supposed to come, it never broke, and there were a lot of questions about where all that money went, why it was all spent so early in the process, and how much of it was spent by Scott to boost himself, and I don't think he's close to a lot of senators, and I think this pressure from Trump world to support him is likely to backfire. Senators are jealous of their authority, their powers. They don't like to be told what to do. And I think that the other two candidates are more likely to win. I couldn't tell you which one, but I think Scott's a long shot.
So maybe some more hurt feelings reports filed up there on Capitol Hill after this leadership contest.
There's going to be some real tension sooner or later between the incoming Trump administration and the Trump administration itself, with members of Congress who are jealous of their powers.
I got to ask you about the cabinet while I have you here tonight. Seems to be filling up quickly, but we got now EPA chief, we've got UN ambassador, we've got the chief of staff, couple of others.
Deputy chief of staff.
And deputy chief of staff. I'm curious, though, in particular, what you think about Trump going out front with UN ambassador and EPA administrator, his picks. First of all, but secondly, the fact he's leading with those spots. They're not conventionally, what everybody's waiting with bated breath to hear about.
I think those are both people who he feels were loyal to him. He wanted to give them something, so he gave them what he did. I don't think either of them will have any trouble being confirmed, any of them really. And so I think that's what that's probably about, is reward the loyalists. The other picks are the more important ones, defense and state, remain to be seen. I was a little surprised to see Mike Pompeo ruled out, because he served the president loyally and well. But I think at some point during the Biden administration, he was critical of President Trump. President Trump doesn't like that.
Quickly, before I let you go, let's talk judges. Trump's arguing that no judges should be approved during this time period because the Democrats are looking to ram through nominees in a very short time frame. We got in response back from Andrew Bates on the Biden side, and he says there's every urgent reason for Republicans and Dems to continue working together in good faith to staff the bench. What's more, there's bipartisan precedent for exactly that. 55 nominees were confirmed during the equivalent period of the Trump administration after President Biden was elected, including 18 judges.
Yeah, it's hardball to try to get a lot of judges confirmed after your administration is in lame duck status. But there's nothing in the Constitution or the rules of the Senate that prohibit that. The president wouldn't like it for obvious reasons. If the Democrats can get themselves together and surmount any procedural obstacles that might be forthcoming, they can probably do this. I question whether they can do as many as they hope to. So I think there's just not enough time.
On the interim, they can hate the game, not the players. Britt, thanks so much for taking time with us.
Thank you, Julian. Nice to see you.
All right, the post-election surge is continuing on Wall Street. All three major indexes hit new record closes. The Dow jumped 304. The S&P 500 finished ahead 6. NASDAQ gained 12. Coming up next, a FEMA official ousted after appearing to discriminate against Republicans during disaster relief outreach. We got a live report on that. Plus, coming up later in the show, one of the most progressive prosecutors in the country is suffering an embarrassing defeat. This one came not in the courtroom, but instead in the court of public opinion. Stick with us. Welcome back. Breaking tonight, a brand new scandal for the outgoing administration. Florida's governor is demanding now an investigation as leaked text messages appear to show a FEMA official encouraging discrimination against Trump supporters in the allegation of emergency disaster relief. Correspondent Steve Harrigan has that story from Atlanta tonight.
FEMA now has a crisis of its own making after officials admitted a supervisor instructed emergency relief workers in Florida to avoid homes with pro-Trump political signs in the wake of Hurricane Milton last month. FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell said the supervisor responsible has been fired and posted the following on X. This is a clear violation of FEMA's core values and principles to help people regardless of their political affiliation. This was reprehensible. Criswell has been called to testify before Congress on the matter next week, following the leaked text that told workers to avoid homes advertising Trump. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said the state is launching its own investigation into what he calls the weaponization of government by partisan activists. The mayor of Lake Placid, Florida, said he was stunned that as many as 20 damaged homes were apparently skipped over by emergency relief workers due to Trump signs or flags.
It's unbelievable that we as human beings can't come together and work to help our communities instead of destroying it.
FEMA officials have called this an isolated incident, but critics are concerned the problem could be much bigger.
I want to know how high up these decisions went, and every single person in that chain of command that was involved and or responsible for directing people who work for FEMA that to not give FEMA aid to Trump supporters is absolutely atrocious.
Hurricane Milton caused more than $30 billion worth of damage. Jillian?
All right, Steve Harrigan in Atlanta for us tonight. Thank you. Crews on both coasts now battle wildfires. Workers northwest of L.A. are dealing with a monumental blaze that broke out Wednesday. It quickly exploded in size thanks to the dry and warm, gusty Santa Ana winds. Meanwhile, a blaze in New York and New Jersey, strangely, killed a Parks employee and has postponed Veterans Day plans there. Coming up next, Brett Baer takes a look at some key seats that were flipped by Republicans and Democrats in the election, how House redistricting impacts some of those outcomes there. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 59 in Indianapolis, jurors there convict Richard Allen of murder. He was charged with killing 2 girls back in February 2017. He had confessed while in custody to the crimes. His lawyers, though, sought to cast doubt on his statement. Fox 20 in Montgomery, Alabama, there, a homecoming weekend shooting at Tuskegee University has left 1 person tragically dead, 16 others injured. The victim's 18-year-old Latavian Johnson of Troy, Alabama. He was not a student at the school. 1 person in connection with this shooting has been arrested so far. And this a live look at Folly Beach, South Carolina from Fox 24. One of the big stories there tonight, more than half the monkeys, you might remember them, that escaped from a compound in South Carolina last week have now been recovered. Officials say 24 of them were captured on Sunday. A total of 43 fled the facility. Authorities say a sizable group is now remaining active along the compound's fence lines. They need to hightail it out of there quick. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As we mentioned earlier, the race for control of the House still up for grabs. Tonight, my colleague Brett Baer takes a look at how redistricting helped both Republicans and actually Democrats this election cycle.
Thanks, Jillian. Republicans and Democrats both flipped House seats this election. Republicans saw success in North Carolina, while Democrats picked up seats from incumbents in New York. Tonight, we take a look at some of the key House races.
We will flip from the Democrats to the Republicans this congressional seat.
Congressman-elect Brad Knott was correct in his prediction that North Carolina's District 13 would flip from blue to red.
Your next congressman will no longer be part of the Democratic Party.
But they didn't flip just 1 seat. They flipped 3.
My name is Addison McDowell, and thanks to your support, I'm going to be the next congressman from the 6th District of North Carolina.
And it had a lot to do with redrawn district maps, backed by a state lawmaker who is now a congressman-elect.
I'm Tim Moore, currently the Speaker of the House, and in just a few days will be the member of the United States Congress for right here in Gaston County.
North Carolina added a seat to its congressional map following the 2020 census, the seat that Congressman-elect Tim Moore will now represent.
We've got a Republican supermajority in the State House and the State Senate. We know how to get things done in this state.
The state's map has been redrawn at least 3 times due to court intervention.
Partisan gerrymandering violates our state constitutions.
In 2022, 3 Democrats won North Carolina's District 6, 13, and 14. North Carolina's congressional delegation was split among House members, 7 Republicans and 7 Democrats. Republicans went back to the drawing board with more arguing 7-7 does not reflect the will of the voters in North Carolina.
So at the end of the day, it shouldn't be up to judges or bureaucrats. It should be up to the people through their elected representatives in the legislature.
District 6 Democratic incumbent Kathy Manning announced she would not seek re-election over the redrawn map. District 13's Wiley Nickel also decided against running due to the new maps and is planning to run for Senate in 2026. District 14 Congressman Jeff Jackson also criticized the maps and instead ran a successful Attorney General's bid.
We need to make sure that folks know how important every single race on the ballot is.
Republican State House Speaker Tim Moore now holds the District 14 seat.
Tim Moore is here. You're a very special House Speaker, and he's been a great friend of mine for a long time.
He's been an ally of President-elect Donald Trump since his 2016 presidential bid.
I have no doubt he's going to be our next president of the United States.
30-year-old Addison McDowell won North Carolina's 6th district. He was a congressional aide for Senator Ted Budd during his time in the House. He decided to run after his brother died from a fentanyl overdose.
I don't want any of your families to suffer like my family did. We have to stop the flow of fentanyl coming into our country through Mexico. And that's why we have to secure our southern border.
Former federal prosecutor Knott took North Carolina's 13th district. He promised to address crime and illegal immigration during his campaign.
I had the high honor of working under President Trump when we actually prosecuted criminals.
Redistricting did not just benefit Republicans this election cycle. Democrats in New York saw success with new maps.
What we are seeing with our democracy is terrifying.
Former lawyer Josh Riley first ran for Congressional District 19 in 2022. He lost to Mark Molinaro by less than 5,000 votes. The seat changed from blue to red.
We are going to flip the House of Representatives.
The new maps were thought to help Molinaro's chances for re-election, but this time he lost, putting the seat back in Democrats' hands.
Tomorrow, let's get to work. Tonight, let's celebrate what we accomplished together.
Just north in New York's 22nd district, changes to the electoral map were likely the result of incumbent Republican Brandon Williams' loss. The district was shifted to include left-leaning cities like Auburn and Cortland. New York State Senator John Mannion managed to flip the seat.
I want you to know why police officers are supporting John Mannion.
Mannion ran a moderate campaign promising to protect reproductive rights while vowing to work across the aisle on immigration legislation.
We need individuals from both parties to stand up against their own leadership.
The 118th Congress returns to Washington on November 12th. Top of the agenda, passing government funding for 2025. The 119th Congress will be sworn in on January 3rd. We'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Brett. Now for one of the nation's most progressive prosecutors is soon going to be out of a job. Voters in L.A. handed District Attorney George Gascon a crushing electoral defeat last week over what many there perceived as his soft on crime policies. Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt is in L.A. with the details.
Lost track of what his responsibility was, and that was to keep people safe.
The George Gascon era in Los Angeles is effectively over after a 23-point re-election blowout. And for perhaps the best-known prosecutor in the DA's office, Gascon's loss is LA's gain.
There is no question that with George Gascon gone, LA will be a safer place.
John Lewin became nationally known for his prosecution of serial killer Robert Durst. He was already locally known for his strident criticism of his boss's progressive policies, which Lewin argues promoted rather than prosecuted crime and criminals.
And that experiment led to an epidemic of violent crime, of theft, of drug-addicted, homeless zombies.
But despite the rise in violent crime, a 10% surge in just his first 2 years in office, according to LAPD figures, Gascon remains defiant as he prepares to leave, saying in an email to his staff obtained by Fox News, quote, "I'm proud of the progress we've made. Together, we've made significant strides in creating a more just and equitable criminal justice system." But across the Golden State, progressive leaders in crime-racked cities have been rejected by voters. San Francisco Mayor London Breed lost her re-election bid, and across the Bay, the mayor of Oakland and the Alameda County DA were recalled. And California voters passed a measure that increases penalties for crimes like retail theft, another rebuke to progressive policies that voters here seem to believe just don't work. Jillian?
All right, Jonathan Hunt in LA for us tonight. Thank you. Coming up next, fighting is intensifying between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah terrorists. This despite ongoing efforts to reach a ceasefire in the weeks remaining during the Biden administration. We've got a live report. Welcome back. The State Department tonight warning Americans not to travel to Haiti. This as gang violence and political unrest continues spiraling out of control. Spirit Airlines flight today from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, was struck by gunfire earlier in the day. This as it attempted to land. One person aboard that aircraft was reportedly injured. The plane ended up being diverted to the Dominican Republic, where it landed safely. Sunday, a transition council in Haiti that was created to restore order and democracy fired the interim prime minister. That was Gary Coney. He's going to be replaced now by a businessman, Alex Didier Fi-Ami. He's former president of Haiti's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Everyone hoping that will provide some sense of stability. Well, the Associated Press reports Israel has begun a construction project now along a demarcation line that separates the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights from Syria. This comes as missiles from Israel and Hezbollah continue to fly over their shore border with deadly consequences. Occupied Golan Heights from Syria. This comes as missiles from Israel and Hezbollah continue to fly over their shore border with deadly consequences. Let's bring in Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst. He's reporting from Tel Aviv tonight.
Smoke billows from a building near Israel's third largest city of Haifa. One of more than 100 rockets launched by Hezbollah today slipped past air defense systems. On the other side of the border, crews dig through the aftermath of an Israeli airstrike as the northern front intensifies.
This explosion hit the neighbor's house, who are families that were displaced and were staying in our village. There was a lot of smoke and rubble. Our windows were smashed and there was some damage to my house.
While Israel and Hezbollah trade blows, diplomatic efforts are underway to implement a ceasefire agreement between the two sides. Reports indicate that a top advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited Russia last week to continue negotiating a backdoor deal, though Hezbollah says it has received no formal information about a deal.
There is a lot of talk in the media and a lot of ideas and political initiatives. We hear a lot of talk, but so far, according to my information, we have not had anything official, nor has Lebanon received anything official yet.
With the war ongoing in the north, Israeli soldiers are continuing operations in the south, hammering the Gaza Strip from the air and ground. Dozens of Palestinians were killed over the weekend in Israeli strikes, according to the Hamas-run Palestinian Health Ministry. And now the northern part of Gaza is almost entirely cut off from the rest of the Strip due to the Israeli maneuvers.
So people in these areas that have been besieged have not had food or water for 30 days.
Since President-elect Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have spoken 3 times over the past week, there is hope that under a new U.S. administration, there will be new diplomatic opportunities to end the war. Jillian?
A lot of hope. Maybe a chance as well. Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv for us tonight. Thank you. Coming up next, we got the panel on the Trump cabinet taking shape now as Democrats continue the post-election blame game. But first, we go beyond our borders tonight. Russian glide bombs, drones, also a ballistic missile smashed into cities in southern and eastern Ukraine earlier today. Officials there say at least 6 civilians were killed, other people injured. Ukrainian President Zelensky says Russia's attempting now to terrorize Ukrainians and wear them down. And this satellite imagery shows China now has built a land-based prototype nuclear reactor for a large surface warship. That's what you see there. The Associated Press reports it's the clearest sign yet that Beijing is now inching towards producing its first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. This, a live look at Rome, one of the big stories there tonight. The Vatican and Microsoft unveiling a digital twin of St. Peter's Basilica. They're using AI to explore one of the world's most important monuments. The digital replica uses 400,000 photos. They were all taken with drones, cameras, and lasers over a month-long period when no one was actually inside the basilica. Pretty astounding. Those just some of the other stories.